Utah. Give me 2.
Duh.
Okay.
Hey, Tommy, ready? Throw on your headsets for a second there. Locked and loaded? Ready? Yes.
Utah. Give me 2.
My new favorite bud. That's Utah. So good. Give me 2.
Who are the Wild playing today?
Utah.
Utah. Give me 2.
The best.
God, that's good.
It's the best. All right, Christopher, ready for the news?
I sure as hell am.
This is KFAN News with Chris Hockey.
Hi, my name is Chris Hockey. My life changed this morning. Today's the day I found God. He was in a smelly hotel room, shaking his head slowly.
Hogs Daddy.
Yes, sir.
Hogs Daddy.
You are so cute.
Can we? Do you know what? I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, baby,
I
go
can
ahead.
already see it.
No, I promise I won't.
You'll open up tomorrow's show. You'll tell the whole story without saying it, but then
I swear to God I won't.
Okay.
I swear to you I won't.
Utah.
I won't. I tell you, I wouldn't do that to you. Not with this one.
You're acting like this one's worse. I don't think
Oh, it's not even close to worse.
I agree.
He's shook.
Last year was worse.
I have a reason why I feel the worst about this one.
Yeah.
I told these guys earlier.
Utah.
Utah.
Tommy, I don't think this one's as bad, but to just be fair to the fellas in this room, it is like arguing which plane crash was less horrific.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
It's not bad.
and my argument is the one that you told last year just had way more people on the plane.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. It's like we're all sitting in a circle at our AA meeting telling the worst thing we did.
Exactly.
They're all pretty bad.
All pretty bad. But last year's was worse.
A rare copy of the Declaration of Independence is expected to fetch as much as $4 million at an auction. Wouldn't you think?
How many copies are there? What do you mean rare copy?
Yeah, okay, well, I'll tell you. The copy from July of 1776 was printed to help spread the document to the public.
Okay.
It's one of only 10 known to be in existence, most of which are in collections. This particular copy was made in New Hampshire. It hits the auction block at Sotheby's tomorrow. $4 million they're thinking of. What you asked was sort of what I was thinking. I would think that these had to be property of the government. You know what I mean? Like that's a copy. But if they were passing them out to say, hey, everybody read this, I guess it probably belonged to somebody.
So I don't know, one of the founding fathers just took it to Kinko's and said
Yep.
just mail this
Scan
across the country.
Larry Kinko.
Wow.
He was a guy who...
The interview guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any relation to the Key West, Larry?
Same.
Yeah, same
guy.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. He is the devil. He was in a hotel room.
See?
Look, it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy that
Creepy now.
everything has different values. But remember a couple of years ago when NFTs were through the roof and those what were those monkey thing called? You know what I'm talking about?
Bored ape.
Yeah, the bored apes. The bored apes were just ridiculously overpriced, right? Millions and millions of dollars for an NFT of a bored ape. But a copy of the Declaration of Independence is expected to go for $4 million.
Yeah.
Or you could have a random picture of a monkey on your phone and say, "This is mine," and you could pay $12 million.
I had a really... I'm sorry, there's a point to this. I promise, Ben, you're going to like this story. I had a really, really nice guitar, a J45, a beautiful guitar. I spent a lot of money on it, but I was going to keep it and collect it and play it from time to time. I realized it was too nice for me to ever play. I had to sell it. I don't think I would want a copy of the Declaration of Independence because it's too important. And I know I'd burn my house down accidentally and destroy it.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Or you'd be the constant target of heists.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Right.
But you said it's a copy.
Yeah, but still, it's only one of 10.
1 of 10.
If you
Yeah.
have 1 of 10 of almost anything,
That's true.
You're probably
That's
in pretty
true.
good shape.
Yeah, you're right.
By the way, I want to be first.
You have to be first.
Why don't we pool our money? Everybody at the Power Trip, we pool our money, we spend the $4 million, we buy the Declaration of Independence.
And where would we put it?
Bend over and I'll show you.
Okay.
Jesus.
Wow.
Wow.
The first signs of the morning? You just got here.
Quit being so crass.
How did he do that? Where is he?
Right here.
Wait, the mic's not turned on.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
Whoa. Yeah, it's like turned completely down.
I can turn it off if I want.
Oh.
I need further explanation though. So I bend over just to like look closely at something.
Yeah, like I dropped a pen or something.
Yeah. So I'm like getting closer to like the floor, or like a desk or something.
But is Ben looking at where you placed the Declaration
Yeah.
of Independence, or are you about to put it in his...
Or are you gonna like slide it under my face?
Yeah,
Like,
what's happening,
I
Zach?
don't
text
really
is very small, and I would hate to put it on the floor or on the table. So I'm going to put it on the floor so you can read it
right.
a little better.
And I probably need to like both my hands to hold it open.
What's happening?
Right.
Hey, Tommy, in this scenario, Ben Lieber is bending over, and let's just say one of his really good-looking buddies is also there. The problem is we only have one Declaration of Independence.
Utah, give me 2.
A little happier now?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And here's more of the news. Are we sure Carbones wants to be a part of this?
Yeah. Yeah. We're sure.
Thanks, Carbones.
Thank you, Carbones. Thank you. Sorry. A little shook over here by the news.
By the way, the Vikings last year spent 2.5 Declaration of Independences on Sam Darnold.
Not bad.
They
not
could
bad.
they could have had 2.5 copies out of the 10, but we got Darnold instead.
Which turned out to be great.
Turned out to be Rosie.
Turned out to be a real good investment.
That was a good investment.
Yeah.
It paid off.
Great.
Police are investigating after an ancient statue was found in a trash bag near garbage cans in Greece. A local man in the port of Thessaloniki found the statue, which is thought to be some 2,000 years old. The statue is 32 inches tall, depicts someone wearing flowing garments. It's missing its head and its arms, but it is more than 2,000 years old. The man took the statue to the authorities. If you saw that in the trash, wouldn't you just think it was trash?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
I wonder what gave this guy. I wonder if he's just like, I wonder if there's anything, And who threw it away? Somebody who did a heist, I bet.
Couldn't move it on the black market.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
He
so.
just gave up.
Yeah, what if this guy is
He's a quitter.
Maybe this is part of the heist. Maybe this guy is pretending that he just found it. Is this a good heist if he does
Oh, I
that?
wonder.
It's not
bad.
Is
That's
everything is everything that is 2,000 years old worth keeping and collecting?
Would think so.
Yeah.
You could sell it to some museum. Some old guy.
So your
Howard Hughes.
your can that you're drinking right now. If somebody found that in a trash can
2,000 years from now?
2,000 years from now,
Yeah, my guess is that would be extremely valuable.
you think so?
Yeah, because there's going to be none of these left.
Even like,
I mean, outside of all the ones floating in the ocean for the rest of time.
have you seen those like Instagram reels or TikToks when like they find like old refrigerators and you see like the old Budweiser from 1990 and it's like cool to see it?
Bush.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. There's this whole part of the old car world where they call them barn finds, where there's an old car in a barn that's been sitting in the barn for like 40 years, and so things like that are cool. Do you guys know the concept behind the reality television show Love is Blind?
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
It's an all-time
Fantastic.
show.
Did you know the new season's being filmed in Minnesota?
Yeah.
I was gonna audition for it. I got all the way through the application, and then they're
We already
like,
talked about this. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
"Yeah." I was gonna audition for it, but then they're like, "Make a video about yourself." And I'm like, "I'm not doing that." So.
It's too much to ask.
Yeah, it's too
That was
much.
too
Just,
much?
just put me on TV.
So again, Love is Blind coming back on Valentine's Day for its 8th season. Netflix also announced a 2-season renewal for its 9th and 10th seasons. Also released a video celebrating 5 years of the reality show. The newest season, taking place in Minnesota, Nick and Vanessa Lachey will continue to host. Can somebody tell me the concept? What is this show?
You fall in love behind, like you only get to talk to people. So it's like if you were in that studio, we were in this studio, and you couldn't see each other.
Okay.
And all you can do is talk and fall in love with talking and like getting to know someone. And the only way you can see them is if you propose to the person.
All the guys live in one house, all the girls live in one house, and everybody dates everybody else blindly. And yeah, you can only talk through the wall, and the only way to see the other person is to propose.
So they never physically go on dates.
No. They have ways of recreating dates in the pods,
like
essentially.
Food, or like, what do you like to eat, and all that stuff. And then you have date nights, and then, you propose through a wall. First time you see the person is when you're engaged. And then they have like a week in Mexico, and then they come back, and they'll live in Minnesota for like a month. And at the end of that month, they walk down the aisle, and then like the whole thing is like, is love is blind, say yes, and then they get married.
And you only have like Tomer's like 9 days in the pods or something like that? Yeah.
But it's crazy because, like, honestly, engagement turns into like a first kiss. It's wild. Wild.
Yeah, like that's the start.
Like that's your start of your relationship. But like it's so, because sometimes they fall in love with these people and like it's just not their type at all. It's pretty cool.
Like
nice little twist.
A couple seasons ago, this one chick said, which you're setting yourself up for failure no matter what you look like. But she said she looked like Megan Fox.
Yeah.
And the guy obviously thought he was getting Megan Fox. And then it was revealed that it was quite not Megan Fox. So,
So look, this is, if you are at this point in our lives, right? We're all getting older. I would never date a gal that, quote, fell in love with me over text in 9 days. Right? Yeah. That's a psycho. You know what I'm saying? Like just on paper right there. Not possible. I'm in love with you. We haven't even met yet.
Are you wild, nuts? Though. But Corey, they make such deep connections.
They're crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I would actually look at the other way.
Maybe she loves you a lot.
Like think about the person's falling in love with you, regardless of what you look like.
Yeah, because
love the concept.
You're an absolute train crash.
Right. I know. I mean, she's gonna be deeply disappointed once she sees you.
I agree. I'm not good in person. I'm even worse on paper, right? Because if we're doing these dates to the wall and we're having like. So, yeah, anyway, I'm going no slaw, extra toast. What are you doing? And then it's like, if we're going to have a date night, I'd be like, okay, so I have Jack 10 of diamonds. What do you have?
Oh, my God.
And she'd be like, how do I disconnect this line? I'd go, sorry.
I know, but that's the thing, though. What if she loves it? What if that's her jam?
I would love, again, if I'm being super honest and realistic, if I was truly trying to date somebody in that scenario for a lasting relationship, if I could find somebody who was very interested after 9 days, like, hey, we seem to be on the same page. I like your attitude. I like your thoughts or whatever. I feel the same way. I'd say, great, let's start dating. But to, quote, be in love with me to the point where we'd get engaged, that's a psychopath. Not interested.
Well, it's an experiment, Corey. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Psycho.
You should have the people on here. They'd probably want to come on and talk about it.
It's sweet, man. It's
100%.
a very interesting show. And not to mention, they're feeding these people drinks. So, the emotions are really high.
So then they all go to Mexico, and then they find out, like, everyone else who they were talking to behind the wall.
Oh yeah. And you get to see the other, and then people start being like,
attracted to that person.
Yeah, like, I made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It gets juicy. It's so good.
All right, so this is on what channel?
Netflix. There's like
okay.
5,
I need
6
to check this out.
seasons.
And then there's one guy who, like, was hyping up how he's going to get all this, like, Instagram fame, so he was checking his DMs, and, like, he just totally cheated on this other girl. It's wild stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys are going to love it.
Speaking of, is it somewhat clean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there? I'm sorry. Let me expand upon your question, Ben, if you don't mind. Is there money involved? Like, is there a incentive?
No, they pay
to
for
lie to
your
each
wedding
other?
and all that stuff.
Okay.
Like,
No, there's no incentive.
So there's
it's literally just an experiment.
So nobody's gonna. What do you call it? Not ghost. What do you call it? Cat. Nobody's gonna catfish somebody or whatever.
No, like fake it for the money or whatever.
Right.
Nothing
Okay,
like
all
that.
right.
It's
A lot of
literally
the
as love is
times
blind.
in the most recent seasons, most of the couples don't make it to the altar. Like in the early seasons, I feel like they probably encouraged them or had some type of incentive to get them to the altar, and then there'd be like a yes/no situation. But the last 2 seasons, Tom? There's only been like 2 or 3 couples that actually made it.
There was this one girl who was like physically very attractive, and she said, like, I only date like athletes and pro and like all this stuff, and she was all about the money. And then there's this one guy who only talked about how much money he made or something, and they, like, you could tell she was just doing it for the money. And then they proposed and she said yes, but then when they first met, she couldn't. It was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen.
It was so awkward.
And he was like trying to make out with her, and she was like pulling away.
And
It was so.
There's so many
They cut
layers.
it. Like, to the producers' credit, they go, "You guys aren't going. Like, this is fake. You're done."
Right.
They cut him.
Well, even the Tomers, the guy early on in the show, he got broken up within the pods, and he started putting eye drops in his eyes to make it seem like he was crying. But the producers included that part.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So you guys,
Because they're like, dude, you're not gonna fake this, bro. Like,
wow, that's
they
crazy.
really want it to
it's
be
an
real.
experiment. It's cool.
Have you guys ever heard? I promise there's a reason for this. Have you guys ever heard of a movie with Steve Martin called The Man with Two Brains?
No.
I've heard of
No.
it. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I think I'm referencing the right.
I think
movie.
yeah.
Okay, so and the reason it came to mind is because at the end of the film, the reason I'm realizing right now that was maybe the most bothersome movie script ever written, ever made, but I never thought about it till now. So the concept is Steve Martin's married to this woman, and she's just a horror, just a terrible person. And he's a brain surgeon, and he figures out he can take a brain and put it into another body, and the person that had the brain to begin with will live inside the body, right? So I believe, if I remember correctly, he kills his wife and puts this other woman's brain in her, and she becomes he lives with the woman he loves.
So dream appearance and now dream attitude in mind.
But the flip of that at the very end of the film, for one reason or another, Steve Martin's gone for a while, and I think he's in a coma. And when he wakes up, he comes back, and there's the woman that looks like his ex-wife, but has the new brain of the woman he loves inside her, and she's very heavy. And they hug each other, and she says, I'm so glad to see you. I've missed you. I'm sorry about all the weight I gained. And he says, what weight? And it's a very sweet moment. But then you think about the fact that he killed his wife. And I realized it maybe wasn't as sweet as a moment as I thought it was.
Murderer needs love too.
Yeah.
I think that was The Man with Two Brains.
Yeah,
I think
it was.
I looked it up.
I'm watching the trailer.
I haven't thought of that movie.
What year?
In 100 years.
83.
That's 12 years old.
Surprisingly, has 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Who's the female? It's a very famous...
Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, Kathleen Turner. Thank you. Yes, that's it. Man, that's bothersome.
And the 80s were weird.
That's disturbing.
Wow.
Yeah, watch Love is Blind.
Okay. Sorry.
good.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like, now that I watch Beast Games, I'm into these kind of shit.
I think they're filming all around Minneapolis, so you'll see everything. It'll be cool.
T.O., you got to go, or can you stick around?
I gotta roll.
Gotta go. All
Yeah.
I gave you my word, Tommy.
Okay.
That one stays off the air
Yeah, we'll keep it clean.
because I want to keep our license. I'm
thanks,
kidding.
dude. See you
I'm
next
making
week,
it sound
Tommy, or
much
what?
worse.
No, I'm skiing next week. I'll be gone.
Oh, who's the lucky gentleman?
Oh my God, not like that.
Are you going to the mountains?
I'm going out to Luton next week. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
So I will.
All right,
I'll be
dude.
back in touch.
See you in a couple weeks.
See you guys.
Love you.
No, you don't.
Don't miss out on the Power Trip Morning Show when they take over Treasure Island on February 6th and 7th. Be there for tons of games, laughs, and great prizes, including Vegas trips to watch the big game. Book your stay using promo code KFAN for both the 6th and the 7th to save 15%. To get the full details and book your stay today, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
2 weeks from tonight at TI.
Well, how about that? Time does fly, doesn't it?
And then live broadcast 2 weeks from tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, how about Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers joining the
So
show?
it's a done deal? Oh,
Yeah,
good.
Jeffers playing initials and joining the show about 7:30 tomorrow.
Did you guys hear Rocco on with Danny B yesterday?
Did not.
I listened to a little bit of it. Really interesting stuff, especially at the very beginning of the interview, talking about Rocco's playing career. I'd encourage you to check that out. That was really something. He did, and I know we're going into Fan 5. In fact, I'll go ahead and get it right. Here we go. Right. Sorry,
It's time for Fan 5 on the Power Trip, presented by All Around, your TimberTech deck building contractor.
Thank you, All Around.
Maxo, the Wolves beat a very injured Matt.
Chris, take it away.
No, we were talking about the Twins, but I don't know if you had your headphones on.
I don't know if he was listening.
No, I did
okay.
not. Sorry.
It's okay. Come back to the Timberwolves 1 second. I'm going to play this, okay?
My fault.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, that's my fault.
You weren't sitting there. You were still shook.
No, he was sitting there.
I was sitting there.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
I thought we were going to get you. Yeah, it's my fault.
That's okay, buddy.
No, I'm not good at this job.
They don't
anymore.
know who's going to play first base this year. Right?
Right.
We have players that can move over and play some first base, and Jose Miranda has played first base. I think Eddie Julian has a chance to play some first base in addition to second base. Mickey Gasper, who we actually just acquired for Giovanni Moran, is a guy that can play some first base.
And he says that will be the determining factor for our squad.
That will be a position that, as the rest of the offseason unfolds, that we talk about more, and that we have to think about when we're in spring training, going through our days, going through our, early work. Who's going to be over there every day, grinding it out and getting their reps in at first base.
So my question to you, Saucy, and
Yes,
everybody
sir.
who knows baseball better than me, when is baseball free agency?
Well, it starts basically after the season. The
That's
winter
what I thought.
meetings is when it really heats up.
And have we had those yet?
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So this first baseman that we're looking for, shouldn't we already have him?
yes. And
That's
Aaron Gleeman wrote a really good article on The Athletic about how 24 months ago we thought the Twins were turning a corner when they signed Carlos Correa. That this was the new way that they were going to go, right? They were going to sign people. They were going to add to the payroll. We know the whole bit, right? Well, Pete Alonso is a 30-year-old former Met that is still available on the free agent market. He's a home run hitter. He's very, very good. And that is basically that is the kind of guy they need. They plug him at first and they leave him at first. 24 months ago, you'd go, yeah, they might sign him. They are in the middle of basically trading away a catcher who they owe $10 million to, so they can maybe add a pitcher who's worth 15. They have to offset everything they're going to spend.
because of the salary cap, right?
Well, there is no salary cap.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's because of the way that they have, but everybody is excited for if the Ishbia brothers buy them, because they think they'll run it like they run the Suns, where they're basically saying we're going to trade and we're going to get our hands on Jimmy Butler. 2 or 3 days after the Ishbia brothers bought the Suns, they traded for Kevin Durant. So that's the weird part about this, is they don't make any moves. They've done nothing, but he's basically openly telling them we need a first baseman, and there's one available in Pete Alonso.
Okay. Thank
But
you
it's
for
a
that.
long way to get
But
to the
there's a
point.
lot-
No, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
But that's assuming that there's different ownership that takes over,
Yeah.
which is not just like a flip of the switch. Like that takes a long time. Like they're literally weeks away from pitchers, catchers going to training camp. I can't imagine that this thing is going to come together anytime soon.
Well, Dan Hayes of The Athletic has reported that the Twins, and I think one of the buyers, and everybody thinks it's Justin Ishbia. I think he's the younger one or the older one. He's the one that has like $5 billion, and he really wants to buy him. And both parties want this done by opening day. So,
Wow, could something happen that
64
quickly?
days from now. Well, and I think the reason, from what I've read and what I've gathered, is the Ishbia brothers own like 1 or 2% of the White Sox. They're both from Chicago, and they've been vetted by the powers that be that need to vet
Major League
you.
Baseball. Right.
So they think they can kind of bypass a little of that. Plus, the Ishbia brothers have been vetted by the NBA. So they think that if those guys are
But
serious
is that a
about
conflict
it,
of interest to be minority owners in a different team?
they'd have to sell.
So they have to sell that
what they own of the White
Right.
Sox. Yes.
I want to.
So-
I'm going to give you that. You answered my
God, that
question
was
and
very
gave me
well
so
done.
much
That was
more
awesome,
info than I
Saucy.
expected.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, but that's why there's excitement from the Twins fans, is if we are owned by two brothers that combine for about $20 billion dollars, then maybe they'll put money into the salary cap or into the team.
They're brothers?
Yeah, the Ishbia brothers. Is it Mark and Steve? It's Justin. Thank you. So that's what he's getting at.
And
is-
they think, the expert, I'm not saying you, but the experts think that they can sell their shares of the White Sox
yeah.
and go forward with the proposal to buy the Twins and get it all approved by opening day.
Yeah, sometime in April.
And make moves to fill our roster.
I mean, that will probably happen
After.
during the trade deadline and then going forward. And that's the thing, that the Twins have made no moves except minor. I mean, the one they made last year was for a guy that I think they kept for like 2 weeks and then cut. But yeah, they think that that's why the Twins fans and everybody wants them to be bought by the Ishbia brothers because they have cash and they think they can have is it Steve? Who's the guy that owns the Mets? Steve Cohen? Yeah, that he just willy-nilly spends money.
Well, they got to do something because I don't know about you guys. I love going to Target Field. I love cheering on the Twins, but they've given us zero to be excited about.
Zero.
Yep. Zero.
And now the other hot rumor is that they are, Dan Hayes wrote an article last night that they are, I can't forget.
Man, dude, you know baseball.
Well, I'm obsessed with the minutia of selling a team and possibly having new owners and all that. I'm pumped about that. But the rumor that Dan Hayes came up with yesterday, that a story that broke late last night, damn it, where was it? I had it all set up.
You should have stopped, brother.
Yep, you had something going there.
No, hold on. It'll make sense.
Oh, my God. I forgot. We do have .com time. I got to go break.
All right, but yeah, that they're
Tommy.
One of the Padres pitchers they're interested in, Dylan Cease, who won a Cy Young.
Oh, he's really
good. But he
good,
makes like $15 million. Hence why they might trade the catcher to offset the spending.
I got to believe Tom is listening and nodding slowly at the camera right now, saying, "You did something right." He's impressed.
You did something right.
Well, thank you.
.com Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network after this on the Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Power Trip Morning Show. So grateful. I don't know what that was. So grateful to have our guy, Tom Pelissero, on. Brought to you by our friends at Bell Bank. Now, Bell Bank has been going all season long, rewarding you by rewarding your favorite charity. You can still do it. KFAN.com, keyword Bell. They'll donate $1,000 to the charity of your choice in your name in their Pay It Forward program. Good people, a great bank. Bell Bank, thank you. And thank you, Tom Pelissero, for being patient with us, because we got a detailed baseball rant of the one and only Meat Sauce Paul Lambert, and we couldn't turn away. It was incredible. Hi, Tom.
How you doing?
Real good.
Pretty
thanks.
good. We have no idea if his rant was accurate, but it sounded very informed.
It had to have been.
Had to have been.
It had to have been.
Sounded really good. Tom, so earlier this week, Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings got an extension. You and a whole bunch of others reported it. I assume you were first because you're very good at your job, and whoever's first is the best.
Somebody jumped the gun and went 1 minute early, but we'll let that one.
Yeah, but they were guessing. You had it confirmed. But now we're sitting here on Thursday, and the terms are out. And Ben and Sauce and I were just talking about this during the commercial break. When and how do those come out? Because I assume some people know what the terms are. Why does it not leak out faster than this?
Most of the time with coaching contracts, the numbers are not released publicly. NFL players' salary data is all available through the Players Association, and so they're not public record, but they're easily accessible. Coach numbers are a little bit harder to come by, and so not a surprise at all that that has not come out. That's pretty commonplace here, but I would fairly tell you, based on what I know, that the Vikings made it well worth Kevin O'Connell's while to sign the extension.
So can you give us any insight how many years it is? I mean, I'm assuming at least 3 to tack onto the one that he has remaining.
Let's not throw darts, Lieber. How about that? Let's just say, listen, it's a unique negotiation because you're talking about a guy who's still not even 40 years old, and he's won 2/3 of his regular season games with a smattering of different quarterbacks, but has not won a playoff game. So, in terms of, the top coaches and what they're making, the Andy Reids of the world, he's in a little bit different, area. But again, based on what I know, I would say that the deal that they were able to get done with Kevin O'Connell was very fair under the circumstances. And it locks in something that, let's be honest, this was never a possibility. They were never trading him. They weren't moving on from him. Like, yeah, I can call Lieber and say, hey, can I, just buy your kids? You're going to be like, no, I like my kids. They're going to be around for a while. Like that's kind of what a call to the Vikings about Kevin O'Connell would have been like. They were never moving on from him. Obviously when you're going into the last year of your deal, there's incentive to move quickly here. It always sounded like they were going to move very swiftly to get something done with Kevin O'Connell, remove the ambiguity, in part because when you're coming up, and they're already working on a deal for Kwesi as well. Part of that is because you're making big franchise-altering decisions again going into this offseason, including at the quarterback position. The last thing you want to do is have a couple of guys who are concerned or have questions about their own future in Minnesota trying to decide the short versus long-term future at the QB position.
I want to go back to just the.
You want to sell your kids, Lieber?
Well, you know,
calm down, Diddy.
Wow, whoa! Tom. There are some days. Yes, I think every parent's thinking, man, this one you can just go away for a while. Question for you about the end of the season. Nobody wanted the season to end the way that it did, especially Detroit and then in Arizona. So let me ask you kind of a weird question. Is there sort of a silver lining to all this? You know, were there revelations about our team going into the offseason that was exposed more in the last two games and maybe wouldn't have been addressed had we won, especially that last game and played in the divisional round?
I wouldn't call it a silver lining because I think that, you know, it's the job of people like Kevin and Kwesi to always have the big picture perspective on how good you actually are. But there's luck, man. There's there's injuries, there's a critical turnover, a 12 men on the field penalty at the wrong time, and like you never get those opportunities back again. Does that mean that one team is that much better than another? You know, Dan Campbell said it well the other day when he was saying what bothered him the most about the loss to the Commanders was, as Campbell said, if we even brought our B game, we would have had a chance to win. But they played so far below the level of what the Lions had put on tape all season. And granted, they had a ton of injuries. Those showed up. Amik Robertson breaking his arm on like the first or second series was a huge factor in that game that messed with their plans and their coverage and their substitutions. For the Vikings, they didn't play their best. But I think that there's very, obvious things you can point to there. I mean, Sam Darnold was really bad in that game in Week 18. And then in the playoff game, they just didn't have the answers in terms of protecting Darnold to allow him, to have the time to, make plays down the field. So they ran into two really good football teams. They lost those games. If you win the Super Bowl, I'm sure that has an impact on how you're looking at things. But every offseason, every team has to make tough decisions. The Vikings are no different than that. They knew, and I had conversations with people during the season, like, look at the defense, the number of free agents and older players, especially on the back end. You're talking about having to do major surgery, whether you win big or you don't in the playoffs here. That part hasn't changed. The one thing that probably substantively changes, at least in terms of the numbers, is what are you doing at quarterback? Because if you went and you won the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, at that point, there'd be no argument to not pay him at a really high level or at minimum use the franchise tag. Now, maybe you've got a little bit more variance in terms of what the league is willing to value Sam Darnold at and what the Vikings are willing to value Sam Darnold at. And having said all that, it only takes one team. So we saw that with Kirk Cousins last year. The Falcons were the only other bidder. They put enough money on the table. The Vikings didn't feel like they could pay that and build a team around Kirk. So they drafted JJ, they signed Sam, and here we go for like the 50th straight year into a Vikings offseason with quarterback questions.
More on that, Tom, do you think with how little the quarterback class is there's only like two quarterbacks that will probably be top 15, top 20 picks in this draft, and you have teams like the Giants, the Raiders, and so on that need quarterbacks, the Saints. Do you think that is what will balloon Sam Darnold's market?
Potentially. I mean, that's exactly what you would think. Sorry, getting a lot of people trying to figure out what's going on in these coaching searches. Yeah, I mean, that's what you need enough teams out there that need a quarterback. And when you're looking at the free agent market right now, it's basically Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, all those quarterbacks who washed out in the 2021 draft. And that's it. I mean, those are basically your options. And Daniel Jones in there as well. The draft is going to be really interesting because you're right, Sauce, when I'm talking to people within the league, and I haven't done, deep dives. I'll be headed down to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl on Monday. They got a bunch of the top quarterbacks there. It's through these few months that you really get a better idea of where guys are going to fall. Are any of these guys worth taking at number one? Do some guys push themselves up into the first round who otherwise wouldn't be first round picks? That'll all play itself out in the next few months here. But yeah, I mean, if you're stacking up this year's quarterback class, even against last year's quarterback class, there's a lot of people who feel like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward wouldn't even be going above I don't know about 6, but definitely after several of the quarterbacks who were taken in the 2024 draft. So all that being said, is the value there for teams, even with all those quarterback needy teams up at the top, to draft one of those guys super high? Or do you turn yourself on to maybe one of those next tier guys? Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Quinn Ewers? Riley Leonard will probably get taken at some point in the draft. Do you look at something like that and then say we're going to bring in somebody else, either go with the Darnold plan from last year or literally sign Darnold for more money this year? That's all part of the chess game that's going to play out here over the next couple months. And remember, the Vikings have the power over this because they do have the franchise tag at their disposal if they need it. And they've got until, I think it's like March 2nd, somewhere around there, to decide whether or not they need to apply that tag. And I would anticipate that they try to see if there's an avenue to get something done at a rate that they can stomach prior to that tag deadline.
Last one for me. How big of a mess is the Jacksonville situation with them firing Trent Baalke because he basically couldn't get an interview with the top 3 candidates? How big of a mess is that? And then they fired him.
It's not ideal. But I think that I know that Shad Khan had a lot of people tell him this is what's going to happen. And Shad, who's a very smart guy and a self-made billionaire and just has struggled to get the right people in place in Jacksonville, sometimes you have to see it rather than being told it. And Shad was telling everybody, look at the roster Trent's built, look at the football operations, the overall program. He's done a lot of good work. The issue with Trent Baalke, right or wrong, is that there's a lot of people who feel like they can't trust him, agents who feel like they're not going to put their coaches into a situation just because Trent, went through 4 head coaches in San Francisco and he was about to go on a 4th in Jacksonville. So the tipping point, again, there were a lot of factors here, but Ben Johnson was high on their list. They never were really in the game at the end for Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn went to the Jets. I don't think he was the guy in Jacksonville. I think they were going to skew offense anyway, but you don't get him. And then Liam Cohen, that was kind of the, I don't want to call it the last straw because I don't know if that specifically was the thing, but definitely the timing came within hours of Liam Cohen saying, hey, I'm going back to the Buccaneers as the offensive coordinator. Shad decided 17 days after the season to fire Trent Baalke. It's unorthodox. I truly can't remember another situation exactly like this, especially with the timetable. I mean, very few people in the league are surprised that Trent Baalke is not the general manager of the Jaguars. But those people would have thought if you were going to do it, you would have done it a couple of weeks ago. Or if you're going to wait, do it after the draft. Doing it now, there's a direct correlation to the head coaching search. They got Pat Graham, the former Raiders defense coordinator, in there today. Robert Saleh is still scheduled for an interview tomorrow. They've talked to Joe Brady. They've talked to Kellen Moore. I know they were meeting last night with the interim GM, Ethan Waugh, and basically trying to recalibrate. I would fairly tell you, I would anticipate that there are some other names that have not previously been connected to Jacksonville that are going to emerge in the coming days.
Judging by that earpiece, I'm going to guess you got to go do TV real quick. But so let me ask you just one more thing. Brian Flores hasn't gotten a job. Is he going to get one? Do you think he'll get one next year?
Right now, it doesn't seem like Flo is in the mix. He interviewed with the Jets. They went with Aaron Glenn. He interviewed with the Jaguars, has not been asked for a second interview with the Jaguars. He interviewed with the Bears, who hired Ben Johnson. So is it possible that he gets a call from, Dallas or Vegas? Anything's possible until these jobs end up getting filled. But right now, my understanding is it's pretty apparent that he's not going to get one here. So his full focus is, continuing to push forward with the Vikings. There's going to be a lot of work on his plate, again, with all that turnover, especially in the secondary going into next season here. But, if you know Flo, you know that he's an extreme competitor. He's going to attack this. He's going to use it as fuel. And I think you're going to get the best version of Brian Flores in 2025, wherever that might lead a year from now.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Bye.
See you, fellas.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network.
Yep. Thanks to our friends at Bell Bank. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Ben?
Yeah.
Are you surprised Flo didn't get a job?
No.
Okay.
No. When we come back, though, I do want to ask you guys a question because I never really thought about this before when he was talking about coaches' contracts, and I want to bring it up to you guys, see what you guys think.
It's a hell of a tease.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Good.
That's how it's done, man. That's how it's done. Power Trip returns after this on the Fan.